Onegaishimasu, welcome back to the Goju Ryu Karate Center. Hopefully everybody is doing well, everybody's healthy, and if you're in lockdown, maybe you're training at home, you're looking for some ideas on what to do in a relatively small space. Obviously with COVID and Corona, a lot of people are limited with the amount of physical contact that they want to engage in, just because it's one way to make sure that we stay healthy. So with that in mind, karate is very difficult when it just becomes about the pursuit of perfection of basics and technique and of kata. But in the same breath, when you pursue this as an objective, you then start building your character. And that's the fundamental difference, according to some schools of thought, between karate do and karate jutsu. Okay, guys who are studying and working extensively on karate jutsu are constantly looking for a solution based on a self-defense problem. So with that in mind, I'm working on what you can do if you're in a small space, small environment, and where you are going to break a section of your kata up. The previous video that we uploaded last week contained a section of drill for Shisochin Kata. And today is going to be pretty much the same thing. A section of drill from Shisochin Kata to help people develop the Shisochin Kata, which is at a black belt level, so brown to black belt, and in some Japanese schools maybe medium high level black belt, so maybe 4th or 5th dan that you're learning Shisochin. Needless to say, do as your sensei says, and if you're able to learn the kata from your sensei and in the dojo, and this helps improve your kata, great. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment. I've come across a lot of comments in the last couple of days and we really do appreciate every single one of them. Please like and subscribe. Try watch the videos from beginning to end. Thank you. Arigatou gozaimasu. Okay, so the technique for today is from the 4 directions sequentially in the kata, where you change 4 different directions. Now, what's really interesting about the 4-directional concept within our katas is that as you go one direction, you then move directly behind yourself and then choose another direction to the left or to the right, depending on which leg's in front, and then you move back directly behind you. And I remember as a young boy, my sensei saying to me, it makes sense in terms of real combat, because if you are fighting and you are fighting one person, a multiple attacker, the next attacker coming, most likely the most dangerous part is for what is directly behind you. Another one of my senseis said to me that there is no point in understanding and trying to pre-arrange and pre-train and rehearse in terms of these 4 directions, because no fight will ever be the exact same. So the point is that the simulation in the kata helps you to develop an understanding of moving and changing direction that may assist you in combat. Real life bunkai and real life situation will never ever correspond. Okay? But in learning the kernel of knowledge of changing direction and being vigilant of front, back, side might put you in a good position. So if we're going to start from here, and if I turn it one way, all right, when I go the other way, I'm going to go across, then turn, then I'm going to turn. The easiest turn is that way, and across and turn. Okay, so it's an exercise that I learned a long time ago in the Seiwakai organization, where they have 4-directional training exercise. Alright, so the first thing would be one way, 180-degree turn, whether you want to swivel step, or you want to step across and turn, it's okay. Immediately go to the back leg side and turn, and then to the back leg. So, turn, 180, back leg 90 degrees, and then across 180. And this will kind of correspond to most of the Goju Kata. Now, in terms of the technique that we're going to be using, blocking with palm, some schools directly down, some schools close to the body, some schools across the body 45 degrees. Palm strike, straight, some schools in line with the face. They're working on everything. In this to be exactly like combat. So, here we are. We'll go through this again. Up, out, cross, up, down, out. And as much as possible, we want the techniques to work together. Up and across can work as separate or together. Together. Right, when I teach my newbies, I teach separate, turn, cross, then together. Up, turn, cross, together. Okay, so how does that work? I'm going to go straight into the kata and cross, extend, turn, together. Okay? Now, should I be going the other way? Prepare, turn, cross, together. And that's the basic way, or the very elementary way of doing this, so that you can build the general technique. Now we superimpose that onto our stances. Now, for the sake of limited space, I'm not going to use long stance, I'm going to use short stance. Okay? So, here, 1, 2, 180-degree turn to the back leg side, crossover to the other side. So if I only have a small amount of space in my living room, my dining room, I can work on this. If I have more space, I'm adequately spaced, then I'm going to do it from a different angle, a different direction. I'm going to go from here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Anecdotally, if you want to see the stepping being adapted to stay in camera, do yourself a favor and watch the Shisochin Kata in a movie called Obi, and you will see an adjustment to keep the character in the center of the frame. A difference in how to do stepping based on the situation, and that's obviously applies to life. The kata is a general idea, and then we have stepping that we can utilize that will change and adapt according to the situation and environment we're in. In the dojo, if you have space, then you do a bit bigger. Okay, so the essential things that we want to consider, I'm going to come a bit closer, hopefully I'm in the camera still. Number 1, try keep your thumb in, try keep your wrist nicely bent, 90-degree bent. And my catchphrase is not really mine, it comes from Susan Chidden, was keep the wrinkles. Always keep the wrinkles. So keep the wrinkles for the duration of this. To help with this, sometimes stretching the wrist, a lot of people are inflexible. Concentrate on the palm, because this is what you're using to strike with. And keep the fingers, don't allow them to spread too far, because often fingers that are apart are often a little bit weak. Try to keep them nice and tight and keep that wrist nice and bent. Okay, and then last thing to kind of touch on is to improve your flexibility and your strength, but also just to improve the power in how we do this. So something small, it's a type of push-up. I'm just going to check that the camera's in frame. Okay, so we're going to do palm strike push-up. And for the purpose of developing good efficiency in what you're doing, we're going to start with the idea that the palm heel, this part of your hand, needs to be on the floor, and the fingers need to be back and the thumbs need to be in. most people conventionally will do their press up with their hands flat, down, up. What we're going to try and do now is we're going to try and work just that is touching, so you're going to concentrate on pulling the fingers back. The next thing is, we don't want to do a generic push-up where we're trying to develop the musculature so that it looks nice and big and powerful. This is cosmetic. We want to look at how we develop the body's ability to recognize a pathway and then we can apply power through that pathway. So we want to keep these arms moving in this position. So start with your hands both, not your shoulders, but on your ribs, and your elbows in, so that when you go up and down, it is that natural extension, elbows not coming out. And then to work on that palm heel, lift the fingers, keep the thumbs in. And that will hopefully help develop a little bit of conditioning on the hands, as well as alignment for the technique. So you do a couple, then practice the palm strike. That's it for today. Arigato gozaimasu. Thank you very much.